Americas region with GMAC, and I'll be your host for today's session. Joining us today are representatives from the business programs at two of the leading schools in Canada, McGill University and Western University. They have agreed to join us to give you a behind-the-scenes look at their programs, admission process, and life on campus. So I'll start by introducing our panelists for today, and let's begin. From McGill University, we have joining us today Kim-Yo Brochette, Assistant Director in Recruitment and Admissions, and Jaden Van, who is currently an Investment Banking Associate with TD Securities and who will be graduating this year. Congratulations, Jaden. From Western University, we have JD Clark, Executive Director, Master's Program, Recruitment and Admissions. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Anthony.
Thank you for the introduction, Anthony.
Sure. After the first presentation by McGill, we'll pause for 5 minutes or so to take any questions that may come up. Afterwards, we'll continue with the next presentation by Western. So I'll now turn it over to Kim-Yo and Jaden.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen so you can see our presentation. Okay, here we are. So thank you again for the introduction, Anthony. So once again, my name is Kim-Yo. I'm the Associate Director in Recruitment and Admissions for the university, and with me is Jaden Van, who's graduating this year. Before we get into the program, we're just going to do a very quick recap about the reasons why you might be considering Canada as well as Montreal as city. So Canada, we're known internationally for having great quality education, pretty stable economy, pretty stable political climate, great quality of life in general. It's very safe. It's also been named the best country to live in the world, according to US News. And generally speaking, it's a very multicultural environment. And always our leaders have been trying to make it easier for international students to come, for people to integrate it. Students who do a 2-year MBA program can get up to 3-year open work permit to be able to work in Canada in this country. And I think for a 1-year MBA program, they also get a 1-year in terms of Montreal, we're a bit of a different city from the rest of the large cities in Canada. We're the second largest. We've been ranked world #1 student city in the world. It's different in a way from other cities because it's very European. Probably the most city in North America. There's very strong influence from the French and we have a bilingual environment. So a lot of people ask me, do I need French to speak French to stay in Montreal? And you'll see that it's very charming in a way because whenever you go to a coffee shop or a store, people are going to say bonjour, hi, and then they'll wait to listen to your answer to decide if they're going to speak to you in English or French. I'm not going to lie that if you do speak French, you will definitely enhance your chances and opportunities for post-graduation placements. But I would tell you that Canada being a bilingual country, no matter where you go, if you do have the opportunity to study French, that will add up to that as well. So getting into the program a little bit, there's many different ways you can describe our program. We've constantly done well in different rankings, whether it's US rankings or the corporate night or business week as well. This year we've had a lot of great performances in terms of quiz competition. We got first place in the Business for a Better World quiz competition. Jaden here actually participated in Bocconi's finance competition where they made the top 4. We have another team that went to USC Marshall where they won the first prize for the B2B prompt, which was sponsored by Amazon. First prize in the healthcare competition where students won $1 million. So there's definitely a quality that comes through our program, as well as a diversity of students. So when we describe our program, we often use 3 words. We say the program is personalized and the approach is integrated. So starting with the worldly and the personalized, we only select 70 to 90 students every year, so it's very exclusive. We take the best of the best. Variety of countries, they come from a variety of backgrounds. As you can see here, our average work experience 5 years, with a pretty good percentage of women. it's very important to have the diversity, no matter which MBA program you're going to be. That diversity is what adds the quality of interactions that you're going to have, to the learning that you're going to go through, and you'll see that you will learn to think in a much more holistic. So, as you can see here, this is our graduating class from last year. The program itself, it's a 2-year program. It starts in August every year. We don't have any intake in the winter. It starts with a base camp, 2 weeks, where you'll be laying the foundations, essentially in master finance, that everyone comes on an equal step, because as I said earlier, we have a lot of people who come from different backgrounds. So you might not have a business background. You want to make sure that you can learn before the program begins. Then you get into the core, and that's where it becomes a little bit different from the majority of 2-year programs out there. Usually when you look at a 2-year program, typically it's going to be 1-year core, 1-year specialization. In our program, the core is only the first semester, and you'll have modules that are what we call integrated, in the sense that you do not do, typical finance or accounting or marketing. You learn to take different elements of these and see how they correlate, so that you can learn to make multidisciplinary and holistic decisions. We have modules like value creation or global strategy, and so on. Some classes you will have, more than one professor teaching them. Some assignments you'll have more than one professor looking over them, and that's once again adds up to the ability to think in as opposed to a linear. Once you finish the core, you get all of that consolidated with the digital self-cup, which is our internal capability, and then you can get into your specialization. So there are 4 main areas of specialization that you can get into: global strategy and leadership, finance, marketing, and actually business analytics. So here it says technology and innovation management, but we've changed our main concentration. We still have courses in technology and innovation in other concentrations as well. What's interesting with the specialization at McGill is that you don't need to be confined to one bucket. So for example, if you have a background in finance, you want to pursue in finance, but you also want to do strategy, so to advance at a higher level, then you could do, concentration in both global strategy and finance. If you're doing a full career switch, we would probably advise you to do all your courses in one concentration. And we also have students who are, who want to build different skills in various areas. For example, entrepreneurs. So you could do global strategy and a few courses in finance, marketing, as well as business analytics. They all combine very well, and it comes with understanding that all the students are different, your goals are different, your skills are different, therefore you might need a little bit of that flexibility in terms of exploring your options. And I think that's really what makes the difference of the program, is the small class size allow us to give you that flexibility and to explore those different areas. All of our students go on an international study trip for 10 days. Actually, they're in Singapore right now at this moment. The destinations that we've gone to include Singapore, Buenos Aires, Tokyo. We might actually even go back to Tokyo next year, and nothing confirmed yet. And then you'll get to another experiential component. Oh, I forgot to mention the international study is included, so you don't need to actually pay anything extra for that. It's part of the experience because we want you to have a global career as well, and to take advantage of those networking opportunities. So the experiential component, you can choose between an internship, an exchange program, or a practicum, which is essentially building a business plan with the help of a professor. And if you're willing to forego the credits, you can even do more than one. So for example, we have students who have done an internship in the summer for the experience and gone on exchange at the end of their second year. We have some students who have done more than one internship during the year. So our team is here to help you assess what it is that is going to be the best for your career and help you achieve your career. Getting into very quickly the career part, I think this is something that's very important for you, that's on your mind. Of course, you're investing a great amount of money and time into this program, so you want to make sure you're going to have a return. What's really interesting with the fact that we have a small cohort is that we have a greatly dedicated group of advisors who are going to be there to spend time with you. One of our advisors was saying that sometimes they spend up to 50 hours with individual students to make sure that they can help them, with their basic skills, whether it is, CV, marketing interviews, presentation, networking, networking in a North American context, because it might be different from your country, as well as providing opportunities to network through, studio, speaking series, different organization of events. We have events both in Montreal and in Toronto, so we open up opportunities in both cities. We also have preparation programs in consulting and finance, and we also have a mentorship program where you will be paired with someone who either had similar career goals to you or who might have something in common with you, who can help you, with your career and give you some valuable advice. And of course, we have all the top companies coming on our campus posting about different jobs. And then, of course, we will help you with the networking part, which is so key to any MBA program in Canada and America in general. So, getting very quickly about the requirements, you're going to need, of course, a CV with a minimum of 2 years of work experience. You're going to need to answer 3 essay questions on our website. The GMAT is mandatory for everyone. There's no minimum, however, but we do recommend to be above 600 for the application and above 700 if you really want to enhance your chances for scholarships. You're going to need 2 letters of professional reference, so no academic. You're going to need a TOEFL or IELTS if you have not completed your undergrad in an English-speaking institution. And you're also going to need your transcript from university. We take undergrads from a 4-year degree or equivalent. And if everything goes well on paper, then we'll invite you for an interview, and the interview will be the opportunity for you to stand out and see how well you fit into the program. So very quickly recapping, we're a very personalized approach to the MBA. We take care of our family. We call it the Dizeltel family, actually. We get to know you really well, and that's how we can help you achieve your and that's really what the culture is all about. Is this community aspect, and building students that will be successful in business, not only financially but also as members of the community. And now I'm going to pass it over to Jaden. Jaden is completing his MBA this year, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his experience. I've put his background here, and after I'm going to switch over so we can see him while he's talking.
Hi everyone, again, my name is Jaden Van. I guess I wouldn't typically say I'm a second-year student, but now that I've completed the semester, I will be graduating this June. Before coming to Montreal, I actually did my undergrad in another Canadian city at the University of Calgary. I graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce in Marketing and a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. After graduation, I worked at WestJet Airlines in digital marketing and analytics for about 2 years before starting my MBA. And I also started up a small real estate investment and development company back home as well that I'm still running to this date. Coming into the MBA, what was important to me was to leverage it as a pivot point for a career switch over to the finance industry. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I chose McGill, because it was a 2-year program, and I think that that's very important for you to consider if you are looking to switch industries. The 2-year program allows you to take on the internship opportunity and then leverage what you experience or the experience that you gain from your summer over to full-time opportunities the following year. So a couple of reasons why I chose McGill. One, they had a world-renowned IM program, which is investment management, and it's a sub-branch from the finance concentration that Kimyo was talking about earlier, and it's very intensive. It's 10 finance courses. You don't really have the option to select any other elective just because it is solely focused on finance classes. So that really helped in terms of skills in preparing me for my internship as well as my full-time interview and recruiting rounds. McGill also had a very excellent international brand recognition. I mean, everywhere that I went, everyone knew about McGill. Even my family and my relatives back home in Asia knew about the McGill brand, and so that was really helpful as well. And employers certainly do recognize that. And lastly, I did really appreciate the smaller cohort and the smaller class sizes. I thought that it was a very intimate, personalized experience, and it was something that I felt very comfortable going into, just given I didn't have any finance background. My undergrad was in marketing, so not really any sort of quantitative knowledge prior to. So going into a smaller cohort, I felt like I was able to better engage with my classmates, better engage with my professors and my career advisors, and it was really helpful in being able to secure the jobs that I did. Life on campus, I'll quickly go through it. There's lots of opportunities at McGill to kind of get involved on an extracurricular basis. I think that this is very important that a lot of students we tend to overlook. Employers do value taking on students that take on leadership roles on campus. So the past 2 years, I was fortunate enough to lead the McGill MBA Finance Club as a club president over the past 2 years, where we ran a lot of initiatives for students, as well as a partner in the McGill Case Competition Association, where we work closely with faculty as well as students and sending and putting together teams and sending them off to different cities to compete in different case competitions, in which we were very successful, which Camille talked about earlier. In terms of biggest challenges and biggest rewards that came from this MBA program, I think the biggest challenge for me was coming in without any prior finance knowledge, and then having to get up to speed within a couple of months, just because you start school in August. Internship recruitment for finance starts around January, so we really only had 3 months. And the interviews are very, very technical and very competitive in nature, and so there was a lot for me to overcome. I mean, I basically lived here at the McGill campus for the first semester, just kind of getting up to speed with everything, but it ended up paying off. Again, the IM concentration was incredibly helpful in terms of teaching me what I needed to know for the internship. And my biggest reward would have to be walking away with what I initially came in to do, was to switch industries, not only to finance, but to one of the most competitive fields, which is investment banking. Before that, I also secured an internship in sales and trading, which was a really competitive field to get into as well. So I kind of owe all of that to the experience and the support that I've had here at McGill. And more than happy to answer questions later on if any.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Do have some questions that have come in for the both of you. So Kumio, I'll start with you. This is kind of a two-part question. What is the median GMAT score at McGill, and how do you use the GMAT in the application process?
The GMAT is it's one component of the applications. We look at everything from a very holistic perspective. Our average GMAT score last year was 670. This year is closer to 680. There's no requirement that says you need to be above average to have a competitive profile. But of course, depending on also what kind of industries you're interested in getting into, some employers do look at the GMAT. You want to put a score that's as competitive as possible, ideally. But if you have a bit of a lower GMAT, but you have other components that are very interesting, if you have international experience, if you have good work experience in general, you have a pretty good GPA, good academics. These are all things that we're going to look at. We're also going to look at who you are during the interview and through your essay questions. On those things, we're going to assess if you are the right fit. We're also going to look at what it is that you're trying to do after graduation and how we can help you with that, because it has to be a right fit for us. It also has to be a right fit for you. So we want to help you assess that as well. So the GMAT, yes, it's important, because at the end of the day, everyone takes a GMAT. That's why there is a standardized test, and you're competing with everyone on various levels. But definitely, we look at it from a very holistic perspective, and I think that's the way it should be, and I think that's the way it is for the majority of business schools.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question that's come in is, what is the scope for MBA Healthcare Management at McGill and possibly a later career in Canada?
Is it for me as well?
Yes.
I'm guessing so. Yeah, okay. So healthcare management. So definitely, well, we don't have a specialization in healthcare management per se. However, we do have an MD MBA, so that we have like different students who are doing medical school and MBA at the same time, and who develop their network. We have quite a few students who take classes. So the MD MBA classes are also available to our students, so that would be like healthcare management classes. We have students who come from a healthcare management background and who go back into one. So for example, I'm thinking of Brian Au, who is graduating this year from this class. He came from I think physics background, or like a lab. He had experience in the lab, and then now he's going to be going into healthcare consulting. Sarah Lee, who was a pharmacy. She was working a pharmacist in Vancouver. She's going back to Vancouver actually as a pharmacy manager for Shoppers Drug Mart. Is that right? Yeah. So there's definitely opportunities. At the end of the day, we believe that the MBA is a really good platform for any field that you're interested in. It's all about how what kind of connections you're going to be building, what kind of courses you're going to aiming for, and who you're going to be connecting with to develop those opportunities for like afterwards. Oh, sure.
With regard to healthcare management, I think it's a very interesting question because we actually have a lot of students, at least in my cohort, that ended up working in healthcare. But I think healthcare is a very broad industry, and there's a lot that you can do in healthcare. And I can name, a couple of classmates that I can think of. One person, is looking to do healthcare investment banking. As Kim mentioned, Sarah Lee is going into the entrepreneurship route, so she's actually owning her own pharmacy or running her own pharmacy after graduation. There's a couple of other students that also did rotational programs at both Merck and Pfizer, and this is more so in the marketing and analytics field. So because of the integrated way that the Desotel MBA program teaches, a lot of students is able to kind of leverage their global leadership and strategy concentration, their finance concentration, or their marketing concentration into their various fields, but still work in the healthcare industry. So it's very versatile, and that's that's something that this program is great for, is being able to equip you with the skills to go into any sort of industry.
Thank you, thank you. Another question, is there a specific industry that most McGill MBA graduates go into? Is there an industry that you're known for placing students?
We do have a large percentage of our students go to finance post-graduation. We also have, I would say probably about 30% of the students who go into finance. We have about 60% of the students who go into consulting, 15 to 20% going into marketing. It varies from one year to another. We sometimes have students who go into a different, I would say, field, but in a financial institution. For example, I'm thinking of Ashley, who was graduating this year, who went into technology consulting for the Ivey. So there are like some in-betweens as well. But we believe that we can do quite well in a variety of fields in both cities of Montreal and Toronto. We have about 50% of our students who stay in Montreal and about 30% of our students who go to Toronto post-graduation.
Wonderful.
There was more.
I would have to agree that a lot of students go into finance and consulting, and I just think that's. But it's not to say that the other concentrations or the other industries are discounted in any way in this program. I think that's just the interest of the students, at least in my year. But the program does well is good in terms of equipping students with the right skill sets in order to actually go into these interviews, which I think is not the hardest part. I mean, you can learn all this stuff in class and whatnot, but it's these case interviews for consulting roles and these the technical aspects of finance interviews that's kind of the hardest to overcome in order to actually get that job. And with the case crack prep program they have here, where they bring in ex-McKinsey consultants to kind of teach students how to crack a case, and also bring in the Marquee Group with interview prep for finance type roles is really, really helpful. And I think that is probably why we have such a high success rate in placing in those two issues.
Wonderful. One final question, and this is for you, Jaden. Now that you're coming out on the other side, is there one piece of advice that you would give to candidates who are considering, going on this journey, looking at business schools, putting together an application, something that you've learned that, if I had known this before, I might have done something a little different?
Yeah, there's I was fortunate to actually know this before because I had a chance to speak with other current MBA students at the time. But the first is to try to know what you want to do and what you want to get out of the MBA. I mean, I know it's hard. A lot of people kind of go into this and they say, I'm just kind of trying to find myself or trying to find a new path to go. And that's totally okay, but the sooner that you can have it figured out, the easier it is for you to actually, get the ball rolling once you start. And I say this because, you arrive into whatever city you decide to go to in August, and then the networking starts right away. And I'm sure all the schools stress the importance of networking, reaching out to employers, reaching out to professionals. And I find that really difficult when you're trying to connect with those professionals if you don't know what you want to do, because they work you kind of ask them like, what's the, what should I do in life? It's really hard for them to kind of give you that kind of advice. So the sooner you can kind of have that figured out, the better. And then that goes to my second advice is to, once you do have it figured out, if you are staying kind of relatively in the same field as what you came from, I think maybe, fast tracking with the 1-year program might be a good choice. However, if you're someone like me who wants to do a drastic switch from, marketing over to finance, really consider the 2-year program. And I can't say how much my summer internship really helped me in securing my full-time role. It was a really big challenge to try to get any looks from any of the banks in Toronto when I was applying for the summer role. But then once I had that under my belt, once full-time recruiting came around, there was basically lineups of people. Well, I can't really say, lineups, but like that. I had like interviews after interviews, and it seemed so much easier just because I had this one internship, and it was only 4 months, but it made all the difference in the world. I guess my advice, in short, is to just try to figure out what you want to do. The sooner the better, because it'll make things a lot easier when you do go out searching for your job.
Great. And one last thing, Jaden, if you could speak to the importance of kind of fit and culture with the program and a candidate.
Yeah, I think that it's, like Kimia talked about earlier, we want to make sure that you're the right fit just as much as, you want to make sure that the school is the right fit for you. And I think that that's really important. I found that everyone here, at least in my year, really had a similar mindset, and that made it easier to work with in terms of culture and fit. With smaller class size, cohort, really had that family feel, and so that's where I feel like the importance of culture and collaboration, and it made it a lot easier for collaboration. They're very international program, and a lot of people coming from different areas of the world, but again, we all had a similar mindset, and it made it a lot easier for us to kind of collaborate and achieve our end.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you both. Great insights, great comments. Now I'll turn it over to J.D. Clark from Western University for his presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Thanks so much. And thanks for everyone that joined us today to learn more about MBA programs here in Canada. So I'm just going to look to make sure that I can get my presentation up here. Just bear with me for a minute. I'm just gonna just 1 second. I tested it beforehand, so I just want to make sure. One thing I will mention before we get started, I am representing Ivey myself. Our students, as I was sharing with my colleagues beforehand, our students have a 24-hour report due today, and what that means is that they're working as part of their teams to present a 24-hour report. So I don't seem to have the presentation up, Anthony. I'm wondering if you can do it on your end for me. Oh, here I have it, right here. Sorry, 1 second.
Got it there?
Everyone see it? Yeah?
Yes.
Here we go. Perfect. Great. So you can see it okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As Anthony mentioned, my name is J.D. Clark, and I'm the Executive Director of Master's Programs here at the Ivey Business School, and I'm pleased to be with you to talk about our Ivey MBA. Our campus is located, we're a one-year program, and I'll talk a little bit more about the curriculum in the presentation. Our campus is located in London, Ontario, Canada, and London, Ontario is about 2 hours southwest of Toronto, a city about the size of 350,000. So very much a university town, and we're part of Western University in London, Ontario, the Ivey Business School. So I want to take you through, typical candidate looks very much like what you saw with McGill. 28 years is the average age. About 4.6 years average work experience, 70-30% male-female ratio. Very diverse classroom. About 60% of the class are born outside of Canada. And out of that, about 26% of our class actually immigrate to Canada for the program. And our average GMAT score is 665, and I'll talk a little bit about the GMAT when we talk about our admission requirements. The education, the industry that people come from, about the education in the industry, about 1/3 come from business, about 1/3 from engineering, and 1/3 from everywhere else. And you can see the industries that make up our classroom and the experience that people have. Wide variety of things. Even finance is the largest, but when you're talking about finance, that's as an industry. There's people that do various roles within finance. One thing I will stress, and this is advice about taking any MBA program, is don't self-select yourself out. So don't look at, a typical profile and say, well, I don't fit that. Maybe an MBA is not for me. Every university is going to have a team of individuals like Kumi and myself who will work with you to kind of say, yeah, it does fit with your background. But just to give you a sense, in the class that we just had start a few weeks ago, we have somebody in there who was a concert pianist. We have somebody who was a Michelin star chef as well. So large variety of backgrounds, even though you see, 2/3 coming from business or engineering. One of the things that makes Ivey different, and we say to individuals to look at, is, there's the curriculum aspect of it, but is how the learning is done as well. And so Ivey uses the case study methodology approach to learning, and that's what we use across our different courses. And it's a real strong tenet, not only about what's in the classroom, but where our faculty come from and such. There are 4 true case study schools in the world. There's Harvard that pioneered it, there's Ivey, there's IMD, Lausanne, Switzerland, and Darden in the US as well. We are the 2nd largest producer of case materials in the world, second to Harvard University. So we sell our case materials that we develop and we use in our classrooms to universities around the world. And I'm just going to explain what the case study methodology very quickly is about. And it's really around this environment in the classroom is not a lecture-based classroom. It is about taking your knowledge and learning knowledge, because every MBA program will teach you the knowledge. What the case study methodology does is it gives you a situation or a problem where you have to simulate being the decision maker, and you have to make a decision. So it's really around this approach that you are applying your learning right away to solve business problems, and really around making a decision. So, you would work on it individually yourself. We put you in teams throughout the program. You work on it with your team, and then you get into the larger class discussion. And the larger class discussion is a discussion about a business issue or problem that's facilitated by a faculty member up front. And that faculty member is really there to make sure key learnings are highlighted, but also to make sure that you're discussing and being able to apply the situation. So it's really around this aspect that we're giving you knowledge, and every MBA program is going to teach you models. That's what an MBA program is all about. And what the case study methodology does is it takes it a step further, and it's not being a model taker, it's being a model maker, because sometimes you have to make decisions when you get career-wise about imperfect information. And sometimes what you have to do is take those models that you learn and adapt it to that situation. So I'll just talk about what you will learn. It's a 1-year program, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we start in March of each year. And we have a 2-week, what we call pre-Ivey classes that start. That's optional. And it's really for individuals that may not come from a business background, or individuals that need to brush up on their accounting knowledge, their finance knowledge, their stats and economics. The program starts with a core elements or business essentials, and you'll find this across every MBA program. I mean, these are core courses across all the different disciplines. That starts the middle of March and goes till September. In our class, I should mention, we have 2 sections, about 75 students each. So you're with your section of 75 students during those business essentials. From Labor Day, which in Canada is the first part of September, up until the end of February, a couple of things are going on. This is when you can do what we call career-focused elective courses. So we have 45 elective courses. You have to take 9, you can choose to take 12. So similar to other MBA programs, if you decide you want to go into finance, you're going to take more of a concentration, but it's also designed that maybe you want to take a breadth of courses into different areas.
Maybe?
Yes.
This is Anthony. we're still on the main slide.
Oh, are you? Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. What I could do, sorry, I'll just pop it up again and see if it is. Just one second. I'll try sharing it again. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just going to advance to once here. Yeah.
Would it be easier if we loaded it up on our side?
Yeah. How does that, can you see it now, Anthony?
No.
No, eh? Yeah. Okay, one second here. Let's see if, just give me 1 minute here and I'll try it again. I'm just going to see if I can share it this way. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and here I'm going to try to advance it and see if it works on your end.
That is perfect.
Okay, so I was talking about the curriculum, so I'll pick up here. I apologize, everyone, for that. So as I was saying, from September until the end of February, a couple of things are going on. One is you have the opportunity to do elective courses. And one of those I should, and that's really designed for depending on which area you want to go into, but also if you want to have a breadth of different courses. We have about 45 elective courses to choose from. You can have to take a minimum of 9, but can take up to a minimum of 12. A couple of international experiences. One is one of those elective courses is an international trip. You do that in the December timeframe, and a lot of, I would say 85% of the students will take that as one of their elective courses. We have 3 trips. We have one that goes to India and Singapore, one that goes to Asia. We go to Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong, and one that goes to 3 different cities in Latin America. And that's designed to give you an experience of what it's like to do business internationally. We also provide exchange opportunities. So we have 16 exchange partners around the world, pretty much in every continent. And that allows you the opportunity to take exchange courses and electives at one of those exchange schools. So that is an opportunity for you. And really, if you wanted to either immerse yourself in a culture or to take some very unique electives that may be offered at different schools and not offered through us, it offers you that opportunity. The other thing, part of our curriculum in this time period is a major real-world project, and that involves you, like, you know, we have the classes which you do the cases for, but in the major real-world project, you're working on a real issue happening real-time within an existing organization, or you have a choice to do it as a new venture project. And each year we get at least a couple of people or a couple of teams that have worked on a new venture project actually get funding through an incubator to take that project more to fruition after graduation. The course ends with a module, what we call cross-enterprise leadership. It's the last month of the program. And that's really around getting you to think like a CEO. And great, you know, leaders today really are sort of those ones that don't only make good decisions and have good judgment, but have good wisdom. And this is really looking at things in a holistic environment and really looking at, you know, what are the risk scenarios that are out there? What's the impact about happening globally? And really being able to look, you know, much more in the future and how, you know, things like disruptive technology and such and how that can impact your business. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. This is really what you can expect to happen to you in the program, how our curriculum works together with the case study methodology, and what you can expect, happen in your own capabilities when you get out. More around being, what's it about you and your leadership capabilities and how those develop in the program. And the first is this idea of bias for action. And I do a lot of work with organizations on their talent needs, and doing executive education. And one of the things that they talk about a lot is we have smart people in our organization. We need smart people that can get things done. And in this program, you're going to be doing about 350 cases. And every one of those cases, you're going to be able to make a decision. But not only make a decision, you're going to be able to say, how are you going to implement that decision across the organization? So you get very skilled and you're really pushed in your learning to kind of take your decisions and put them into action. Communication and communicating persuasively is important. Our classroom environment's a discussion-based environment. You are graded on your class contribution in that classroom. And so your ability to communicate in a large group, present your ideas in a large group, be challenged in a large group, gets really developed in the program. And I would say, and I'll talk about this, is that our program really works on developing one thing, and that's confidence. That's ability to get into a room, not sure what's going to come at you, and really be able to have that confidence to deal with things as they come. Maximizing team potential, and you'll get this in every MBA program where you are put in teams. You have to know how to work with different people, get that experience of working with different people that may approach things differently than you do. When you put our case study environment around the teams, like what the teams are doing right now in our program is today they got at noon an assignment in leadership, a case that they have to work through, present their recommendations 24 hours later. You also learn about yourself, and you learn about how you approach issues and approach problems, and how you need to surround yourself with individuals as you as you go through your career to kind of make up for some of those areas that you're not as strong in. So for me, I'm not great with the details, very good big picture. So what I learned in my MBA is I really need to surround myself with individuals, or when we're dealing with an issue, is to really surround myself with individuals that will look at those details. Managing volume is important, and that happens in a couple of ways. One is, this is a busy program. It's a one-year program, and you have to be involved in clubs and on-campus recruitment. And so the ability to manage that volume is important. Pick out what's important and what you need to focus on. But also when you deal with these cases, these are very complex business problems, and great leaders are the ones that are able to focus the organization on a problem, solve that problem, and move on and fix something else. And so your ability to look at these business problems and to figure out there's a lot of issues going on here, but here's what we have to solve now, here's what we can solve later, is important. And the last is this idea of embracing complexity. And so when you're dealing with these cases, you're dealing with imperfect information. Sometimes you're dealing with too much information, too little. And again, it's around this idea of confidence and embrace, being able to deal with complex issues. I'll talk a little bit about our career management and where people go. Basically our career management is integrated into the curriculum, similar to what you heard from McGill. Is we have, workshops and things that start in the program. We have Emerald Inc., which is a networking simulation where we, before you go out and actually do networking, we will bring in an organization where you can test networking with. We have a Get Connected event that involves taking you to Toronto, meeting you with recruiters, and getting ready for on-campus recruitment. On-campus recruitment starts in September, and that involves a lot of one-on-one coaching, group clinics, case prep, finance, technical prep as you go through it. We have club activities, we have various activities, regionally, and industry and alumni events. We have the highest placement rates in Canada. This is according to Financial Times, 3 months after graduation. So you'll see placement rates advertised at 3 months after graduation and 6. That's sort of the standard you'll see across schools. 95% of our graduates make at least one career transition. So that means they change industry or function. And one of the things I'll talk about in our admissions process, a one-year program isn't for everyone. But we want to make sure in our admissions process that we feel there's a good fit with your experience and where you want to go. that a one-year program fits. And so we have a lot of our students do career transition. We have an incredibly high placement rate. And here's where students go. Again, you know, as McGill talked about, high percentage in financial services, high percentage in consulting. And really that's where a lot of, you know, these firms are firms that hire a lot of new talent into their pipeline from business schools. So you'll always see them highly represented. And then again, 1/3 of big mix. And it really matches where our alumni is as well. I want to talk about next 3 things why you know, we have great results in our career services. And the first is we're ranked by Financial Times is the #1 program in Canada for aims achieved. So that's people, what they wanted to get out of their program coming into it. And I think that really speaks to our approach in admissions, is to make sure there's a fit, and particularly a fit with a 1-year program where you want to go. And again, looking at your experience. So I will say, like I said about if you come from a different background, don't self-select yourself out and say, you know, I think I need a 2-year program. Engage in a discussion, because we're here to help you with that decision. We're ranked actually 6th in the world, but top 10 in the world for student assessment of our career services. And this is by The Economist. And this is really around, what did the students think of the support that this career center provided for you in the process. And the last that's really important is, this is what our students rated our alumni network. We are top 3 in the world for student rating of our alumni network. And this is how they took advantage of the alumni network. We have very dedicated alumni, and I can guarantee you, in your job search and in your business school experience, you are going to be interacting a lot with alumni, and they are incredibly helpful. We have a culture here at Ivey about paying forward and paying back. So the alumni network is very, very dedicated to the success of the students and to the success of each other. I'll just end with what we look at in files and sort of next steps. Our assessment's based on 5 factors. And again, we look, and you'll find this with most MBA programs, we look at things holistically. But we start with this whole idea of leadership experience and potential. And to put it more succinctly, we're looking at people about, you know, it's less about, we look at minimum 2 years, but it's more about what you did. And it's really looking at, and think about yourself when you apply to MBA programs, about thinking about how you've had impact in your organization. So less about what your job description is. What type of impact have you had? What decisions, what learnings did you get out of it? We look at your previous academic experience in combination with the GMAT. So what we're looking here is that you have the intellectual capability to do the program. And what we want to do is look at both of those in concert. So again, if you have lower undergraduate grades, there's nothing you can do about that now, but what you can do is write a strong GMAT. We ask for 2 references, people that can speak about your character and abilities. And then the last that I've mentioned already is our admissions interview is done by a member of our career management. And this is really about you and us assessing the fit with our program with where you want to go after your MBA. High level of support, again, any program that you're interested in, I'd encourage you to engage with you know, individuals like Kumi and myself to help you through the process. But one of the first things that we do is we do a preliminary assessment. You can send in your resume. We will give you feedback before you start an application about whether we see a fit with your background with what we're looking for. We'll arrange you to kind of experience Ivey, either coming to visit us, and we have a class visit program even for international students, but to talk to our students, talk to alumni. We provide you support throughout the application. You know, what references should I use? What GMAT score you'd be looking for? But anything that we can do to help you with the application. And then we provide guidance on loan programs and scholarships as well. So that's the end of the presentation. Here are some links about next steps, but I'd be happy to take any questions. And again, I apologize for the technical issue on the slides, but I'd be happy to take any questions. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about our program and learn more about McGill and some of the MBA programs we offer here in Canada.
Thank you very much, JD. I do have a couple of questions here for you.
Sure.
you mentioned kind of some of the assessment factors.
Yes.
Can you give some examples on things that would allow a candidate to stand out?
Yeah, I think, that's a good question. I'm going to talk about it, not just our program, but MBA programs in general. I think the best way that you can stand out is to talk a lot more about your accomplishments. And so, it's very easy for us to talk about what we do every day in our job, but think about one of those things like the accomplishments and the impact you've had in your organization or even in your volunteer work outside of your professional life, and really highlight some of those things that you're proud of. I think I go back to the point that Jamie mentioned too at McGill is it's really important before you start an MBA program that you have some sense or some plan about where you want to go and what you want to do. And if you don't start an application until you've had discussions around, here's where I'm thinking of going, and kind of solidify that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. One other question, any advice you can share on someone who may be considering an MBA versus a master's?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's specialty masters and then there's MBA programs. My personal belief and our belief at the school, we have specialty masters, and that's really designed for individuals that want to get a traction in their career. So many of these specialty masters are set up that I've graduated right from school and I'm having trouble getting traction in my career. And so the specialty masters are really designed to say, okay, help you get that traction that's going. An MBA is designed, just like a person like Jamie that you heard from McGill. I've already had some traction in my career. I either want to take it to a different direction or I really want to accelerate it. But it's really designed for individuals that have that, at least some professional experience that is there. But if you're having trouble getting traction in your career without having, professional experience, a specialty master's is a great alternative. But one thing I would just add to that is it's always good to look at which industries you're considering afterwards, and also look at the credentials that people have going into those industries as well. And just to make sure that you've done your homework on this is a valued degree, whether it's a specialty master's or an MBA in the industry I want to go in after.
Wonderful. Great advice. Great advice. Well, this concludes our session for today. I certainly want to thank Kumio, Jaden, and you, JD, for sharing your time during what I know is a busy time for you, and certainly your insights and answering questions from those attending today. So I'd say have a wonderful afternoon, everyone, and have a great rest of the week. And thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. It's a pleasure being here.